All right, welcome to episode 5 of the Gaming Lounge podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and I'm joined by Dory. How are you doing, Dory?
Hello. Hello.
So, today officially kicks off Final Fantasy VII Rebirth month. That's mostly what we're going to be playing for the next couple weeks. I haven't put it down since I've started it. I've managed to put at least maybe 12 hours into it. Considering I work full time, that's a lot of hours. I pretty much as soon as I got home, I've been able to play it, and I play it all day today on a Saturday. So, and as soon as we finish this podcast, I want to go back to it, of course. How about you, Dory?
Yep. Yeah. So, I'm very privileged and lucky to be on February break while this game got released. So I have double the count of where Seb is. But I think we're still roughly in the same area. Also, he played the original and I didn't. So I guess I'll say that I got to a certain mountain and fought a boss, and that's where I'm at right now. And I think Seb will know what I mean.
I do.
I believe, yes. So I believe Seb got to the beach resort or finished it or got to it.
I'm not there yet. I'm like right there.
Right there. Okay.
I just completed the mini game for the Junon, the parade. I got a perfect score and I got the trophy. It was hard.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that looked that was challenging. I actually found all of the divisions and I did it on the hardest difficulty, which I wasn't sure I'd be able to, but I took a risk and it ended up paying off. So,
nice,
but we'll talk about it.
Yeah. All right. So for the first thing I want to start with is the games we're going to play in March. Now, I want to do this for every month because this is our first time in a new month because we started in February, so now we're in a new month. So I want to do this every month where we talk about the newest games that we're going to potentially buy. It doesn't have to be even something you're not going to buy. Definitely, it can be something you might buy or something you're going to buy in the future. So, Dory, what catches your eye in March?
Yeah, so I mean, the easiest answer and probably a day one purchase for me and for you is Battlefront Classic Edition. I've actually had the original downloaded on my Steam for a long time now, and I just never got around to playing it because, I mean, I don't want to say the servers are dead, but I just didn't feel like going back to it. I kind of wanted to have it as kind of like just a thing to have if I ever really wanted to play it. But now that I can buy the Classic Edition and get a little, like, I think it's 20% off or something like that. So I'll definitely be doing that. That's a day one for me. I'm very excited to play with some friends, and the Jedi mode, of course, or Heroes mode or whatever, was always really fun. The other ones I'm looking at are Alone in the Dark. I don't really know a ton about it, but I know obviously it was the progenitor of a lot of survival horror. Came before Resident Evil. Resident Evil is basically Alone in the Dark clone, kind of, with some changes. So I'm as a survival horror fan, I'm excited. Another horror-ish game that I'm excited about is the Thaumaturge, which is kind of a turn-based RPG horror persona-like. It's got a lot of different things going on. I'm very interested by it. It reminds me a little of Disco Elysium, and since that studio is basically fucking dead at this point, I'm very excited to see something that kind of at least apes at what Disco Elysium did. So those are 3 games. I don't want to go through the whole list. Seb, you got any you want to mention?
Yes, this month is very loaded. As we've talked about before, they put a lot of games in March, and I don't know a lot about the Thaumaturge. Is that how you say it?
Thaumaturge.
Yeah, so that comes out in two days. So that's very soon.
Oh God, I didn't even realize it was coming out that soon.
Yeah,
well,
March 4th. Yeah. So I'll check that out. WWE 2K24 comes out March 8th. That's not something I'm gonna buy this month, but when it's on sale, I'll definitely get it. I always get the wrestling games when they're on sale. I've been waiting for the AEW game to go on sale, and I saw it for like $25 now on Amazon or something like that. So you get rewarded for being patient. I kind of have interest in the new Contra game, but that's not something I'm gonna get day one. Just a maybe. Star Wars Battlefront Classic, definitely. That's day one for me. Isn't that other
Yeah.
Star Wars game coming out, the Dark Forces remaster? That already
Yeah,
come
Dark
out?
Forces remaster. I think one reviewing channel I follow on YouTube just came out with a review of it. I haven't checked it out yet, but I did try to go back to the original, and although I enjoyed it, it is a bit as expected. It's a little clunky, and it. I just didn't. I had fun playing it, but I didn't feel like compelled to keep going, and I think I got stuck on that level where you're sliding through a sewer or
Oh, it came
something.
out. It came
And
out.
what's that?
So it did come out. It came out 28th of February.
Oh, it already came out.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
so
that.
there you go. But
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't played the remaster yet, but it does look nice or
Y-
nice-ish.
Yeah, I'd rather play the second one though, because I have more of a childhood with the second game.
Same.
All right. What else? Okay. So the big thing. Hi-Fi Rush. I already bought, so of course I'm gonna play that day one. As it comes out March 18th. So by that point, Final Fantasy will be beaten, and Star Wars Battlefront's not something you like beat per se. Something you just kind of play. So Hi-Fi Rush for sure. Also, as Dusk Falls, I think it comes out the 7th, I believe. I already bought that as well. I'll figure out when I'm gonna play that, but I already bought it. Princess. So the big thing is March 22nd, as I've mentioned before. It has 3 games all on the same day. That would be Princess Peach Showtime, Dragon's Dogma 2, and Rise of the Ronin. So all 3 of those games come out the same day on the 22nd. And Dragon's Dogma is pretty much the must buy. Like from what I'm seeing so far, I still need to see some reviews. For I definitely say it's day one for me. But that seems like a game that's probably going to be my top 5 games of the year. Rise of the Ronin, as I mentioned, I'm still a little iffy on just because I don't know what kind of game it is still. I just don't, if it's like a Neo Souls game, I'm not interested. If it's more like Ghost of Tsushima, like it plays like that, then I'll be interested. So that's a baby for me. And
I would
Princess
also be interested because
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima was at least like fairly accessible even for
Yeah.
me.
Not that I'm afraid of like to play a Souls game because obviously I like Souls games. It's just that
no,
I don't like that style where it's like super fast paced.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like
and-
any of the styles, so there you go.
for now anyway.
Yeah. Here we go.
And then Princess Peach Showtime looks really interesting. It's not something I don't know if I'm gonna buy that day one, but we'll see. Like maybe in the summer when it's a slow time for me, and I buy those voucher things and get I'll get 2 games for $100. They'll do something.
It looks really fun. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Maybe I'll play it with Kim. I think she would also really like it. I'm also looking at Pepper Grinder. I don't know if I'll buy that. That's one of those like maybe. But if it gets good reviews, and it seems like something I might like, yeah. I am looking at Dragon's Dogma. I'll pay attention to reviews. I wasn't impressed at first, but also I have no nostalgia for Dragon's Dogma, and I wasn't honestly even sure like what I was supposed to be looking at or like why I was supposed to be impressed because I had no context. But as I've read more about it and seen more stuff, I'm like, okay, this does look cool. Like this does look up my alley. So I'll wait and see if it gets really good reviews. Then I might buy it, or I might wait for a sale. Like I said, I have no history with this. I can't even call it a franchise or series because this is only the second game, right? So I don't have any history with the previous game. I think by the time it came out, I wasn't playing video games for a while.
I think most people haven't played the first game. I think first game is just it's like it's underrated in the sense that not a lot of people played it. I'm not even sure this one's gonna be a giant seller. I don't know. Like I guess because it's like nowadays games are bigger than ever, so they sell more nowadays. So maybe this franchise will take off now.
I remember on one of the previews I was looking at on YouTube, they were like, if Square is it Square? No, Capcom.
Yeah, Capcom.
If Capcom manages to like smash this out, like manage to get like it does really well in critics and with audience, like Capcom's like delivering like pedigree game after pedigree game.
Mm-hmm.
I swear that wasn't a Triple H joke, but it did cross my mind while I was saying it.
I haven't got the water ball, but I'm not gonna shoot water out of my mouth.
That's right. Wait, let me. But speaking of, you can get gold dust in Final Fantasy, and every time I saw that, I was like, anyway, being wrestling nerds. But yeah, so it's just cool. I mean, it's awesome to see Capcom deliver hit game after hit game after hit game. They've been really doing well. All the Resident Evils have been looking really good. They've been doing well with Monster Hunter, even if that's not my jam. And now they have this, so maybe this will hit gold too. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little more confident now in comparison to Capcom back then. Capcom back then was in a bad spot, but now Capcom, like as Dory says, has been killing it because the RE engine's amazing and they've been very, very consistent. Finally, I want to talk about. I also wanted to mention Alone in the Dark, as Dory mentioned. That comes out March 20th. I need to see more. I love survival horror. I'm Resident Evil is my favorite franchise. Resident Evil is basically the grandson of Alone in the Dark. Alone in the Dark started it all, as Dory mentioned, and but that doesn't mean this game's gonna be great. When I see it, it still kind of looks like a more low budget than a Resident Evil game. It just feels like I just need to see more. It feels like it's gonna be average from what I'm seeing. So at the very most, at the most, I'll play it and I'll probably beat it, but it probably won't be until later on, like probably maybe in October or something, where like when it's cheaper. So we'll see. I'm not expecting this game to be day one, so but we'll see. It just feels like a 7 out of 10 game to me. I don't know. There's something about it just doesn't look out like it doesn't look like a polished Resident Evil 4 remake level game to me. But yeah. All right, so that's our March games. So this is a pretty loaded month. I think this is something for everybody. For the most, there's like 3, as I mentioned. Hi-Fi Rush I already bought. Star Wars, Dragon's Dogma. I was like the 3 definite gonna buys. Pretty much, I already bought Hi-Fi Rush, and Rise of the Ronin, and Princess Peach are either maybes or later on. So
yeah. I think for me, the only must buy is Battlefront, and only really for the multiplayer because I want to play with you and want to play with some other friends.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, the Thaumaturge, I'm very much leaning towards buying. But I'm not completely sold on. I want to see some reviews. If it even gets 7s and 8s, I'm probably there.
Mm-hmm.
But if it gets like 6s and 7s, I don't know. I would wait for a sale at the very least.
Yeah.
And then the only other big game for me that seems to be there is like maybe Alone in the Dark or Dragon's Dogma. Again, this is a wait and see kind of month for me. There are definitely a lot of games I'm interested in and possibly going to buy, but I need to see reviews before I commit, because some of these games like Dragon's Dogma, Princess Peach, Alone in the Dark, I mean, they're like what, 50, 60, 70 bucks. So I'm gonna need to make some wise purchasing in this month.
Yeah, and this is the last month where we definitely know like big titles. Like, I mean, we have some release dates here and there, but after this month, it's like it's wide open. A lot of the games are not have definite release dates yet, so we'll see what happens after this month. All right, so let's move on to the Pokemon Presents that we got this week. Really didn't have anything for me anyway. What about you, Dory?
I barely even watched it. I'm like not really into Pokemon at this point, honestly, unless they bring some more remakes, which I know is just kind of nostalgia bait at this point. But I mean, if they brought Heart Gold and Soul Silver and updated that for the Switch, I mean, I'd be there day one. I think at this point, that's like the only game I can think of that would like really get me hyped. But anyway, yeah, no, nothing here. I didn't get into Legends. I'm very picky about my open world games, and even though I feel like a Pokemon open world game is what it should be, I'm not really into that style, because I don't think I didn't play Legends. I'm pretty sure you did, but like I don't think it's like the typical setup if you go to a gym and you challenge there and then go to a different town. Yeah, no, it's not. So like that's kind of what I want out of Pokemon. I respect the hustle. I respect that they're trying new things and they're trying to change up the formula. And I mean, it did review well, if I remember correctly. So I guess this was big for the people who really love that game. But I remember seeing Legends and thinking, which feels like a forever ago now, but I remember seeing the first Legends and saying, this doesn't look like it's for me. I'll wait until the next actual Pokemon game comes out. And then that happened, and I definitely didn't buy Violet or Scarlet. Despite hearing some good things about it, in spite of its many technical issues. So yeah, this did not move me at all. Pokemon Sleep and all the mobile games don't move me, and I just didn't really care. Also, the nostalgia baiting for I'm calling it nostalgia baiting. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just calling it what it is, basically. But I mean it pretty like unbiasedly or whatever. Like it's just what it is. But the stuff for X, Y, or the stuff for Y and Z, like they're hinting at Mega Evolutions and whatever, doesn't move me either because I didn't play those games. I stopped on Diamond, and then I picked back up 10 years later on Sword. So I missed, Sun and Moon and Y and Z and Black and White 2. I missed all those. So any kind of, hey, look, we're bringing this stuff back. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So yeah, this did nothing for me, and I continue to be unimpressed with Pokemon as a franchise. Unfortunately, I grew up as a huge, massive fan. Watched the movies, watched the show, played the games. So yeah, it's a bummer.
I mean, I'm still a giant Pokemon fan. Of course, I've been Pokemon since 1998. I unlike Dory, I've stuck with the games, but I only played like the mainline games. The only exception is Arceus, the Legends Arceus, as Dory mentioned. I beat it. I think it was my top 10 game of the year, or it was my honorable mentions for sure. It was really awesome. I really loved that game. That's why I wanted the new modern Pokemon's games to feel like, because it felt like a true open world game. I love the idea of just like controlling the trainer and just like and throwing the Pokeballs at the Pokemon and catching them that way, and it was really innovative the way you can roll around and dodge the Pokemon attack the trainers and things like that. It was really addicting just to catch Pokemon. Like I really had a blast with that game. Even with
that because I never really gave it a shot.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's just that it had a lot of performance issues. Like obviously the hardware, it showed it the hardware. It was chugging sometimes. There was a lot of pop-ins and frame rate issues, but the game was so much fun that you didn't even care, honestly. And it's open world to an extent, but it's really open area because you load into like big areas basically. It wasn't like Tears of the Kingdom or anything where it was like seamless. It was like you had to load into it, but that game was such a blast. I totally recommend it. I think it was one of the best Pokemon games. I had more fun with that game than I did Scarlet and Violet, but I still enjoyed those games too. But we talked about it before, but a lot of people had issues with the performance of Scarlet and Violet. But I still think the formula of Pokemon, even though it's old and overdone so much now at this point, I still have a blast with it because I feel like I don't play that game every year. I feel like it's every 3 to 5 years, so I get my feel for it. It's like if it was like every year, like if it was like Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed, we got a new Pokemon game.
I agree with you. I was just sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Seb. I'm not sick of that formula either. I mean, I played the remaster of Diamond. I loved the formula there. I played the Sword. Loved the formula there. Obviously, they had small little changes. I really thought Sword is what they were going to go for in future games, and then Legends came out, which was kind of Sword, but bigger open areas and more of them. And then they did Violet, which had the main formula with Sword-like open areas, if I remember correctly, understand correctly. So yeah, I'm not over that formula. I mean, yeah, it's old, it's tired, it's been used a million times. I don't care. It works. Go from gym to gym, different types, make it blaringly obvious what each type is. I saw a meme recently that was like, bro, how did you know this was the water gym? Meanwhile, it's like a picture of like a swimming pool and like a beach, and it's like, come on, what else would it be? But yeah, so I love that formula still, and it's still a winner for me. So yeah, I also want to shout out the early Digimon games, which were fucking weird. I double dipped. I played in both franchises, so
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember like your Digimon would digivolve into poop if you screwed up.
Yes, and the Digimon
PS1.
Rumble Arena, I played that too. That was good. Yep. That was fun.
I played the heck out of that one too.
Yeah.
Randomly, I didn't even know about the game. I just like saw it at like a store. I was like, "Oh, what is this?" And I bought it. And
I probably honestly saw it at heckin'.
I don't even remember.
I think I saw it at Blockbuster. I can't remember. But yeah, I was very excited.
Yeah, I think it was a Blockbuster, but it's hard to say. It's so long ago. The big thing out of this direct for me was obviously Pokemon Legends ZA. which takes place in Lumino City or Lumiose City. Sorry, Lumiose City in Pokemon XY. So obviously, if Arceus was really fun, I expect this game hopefully to be really fun. I guess they're gonna keep continuing these Legends games because this is number 2 as we talked about, and that's all we really know about it. All we really got to see is like Pikachu running, and like it was very like virtual, so that maybe that's something to it. Like it felt very good. Felt Digimonish, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, Digimonish. The most upvoted comment on the trailer was very smart of them not to show any actual graphics, so we can't rag on them or something like that. I think I added the last couple words, but basically implying very smart of them not to show graphics.
At this point, at this point, it's been an issue every Pokemon game recently. It's like Sword and Shield, Arceus, and Violet and Scarlet all had performance issues. So
what was like the last like nice performing, looked good Pokemon game for its time? Like I don't even know.
Well, it's hard to. I mean,
one of the handhelds?
Probably like the Diamond and Pearl remake or something like that. Not that one. I mean that one was fine, I guess, because it was chibi little character.
It was chibi. It looked fine. Yeah.
I think I meant to say the Omega Ruby and
okay.
Like the remake of the Sinnoh region. That was like 3DS, I think, or I think it's 3DS. Like obviously because it doesn't push any boundaries. Like it's not a 3D game. It's 2D. But 3D wise, I want to see like a console game from like the GameCube, or because like the only Pokemon game I can think of like on the Wii was Pokemon Coliseum, but that was more of a battle game where you uploaded, you basically connected your not your account, but it was like you can use your Pokemon from like Diamond and Pearl on there. I used to play that game a lot against people. But yeah, it's been rough for Pokemon on like performance wise on the Switch. But I think a lot of people are having fun, and these games have sold like crazy. So it's one of those things where like if you go by the internet, it's like it's the worst thing ever, and sky is falling. Pokemon sucks now. Da da da. I mean, it's like Call of Duty. It's like Call of Duty. Pokemon's like Call of Duty. It's like people on the online are go crazy about how awful it is, and then the game still sells like 20, 30 million copies. So it's like,
yeah,
it just shows you how little minority Twitter is.
For all the public outrage that Violet and Scarlet got. Well, I say public outrage, really online outrage that Violet and Scarlet got. One of the best, if not the best, selling Pokemon games of all time. I mean, you got to think that Pokemon's bigger than it's ever been because of the movie, because of the merchandise, because of the show. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. I mean, the trading card game's still fucking going somehow. So yeah, and I also want to be clear that like graphics aren't like the be all end all of me. Like I'm not like making fun of Pokemon for its lackluster graphics because I'm like, oh, if it has bad graphics, must be a bad game. Like I don't usually care that much about graphics, but it is like the extent and the length of which the Pokemon Company or Game Freak or whatever have consistently been behind the curve on that kind of specific department is noteworthy, even if it's like not usually a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear about that.
Yeah, it's not even about the graphics. I think it's the performance. That's the problem. I think the frame rate issues are the biggest issue. I think people can live with bad graphics if performance is fine.
Exactly.
But when performance is bad and it ruins people's gameplay, that's when people really complain. But again, it's Pokemon. Pokemon's the biggest media franchise in the world, and it's gonna sell no matter what. I'm part of the problem because I buy pretty much every Pokemon game. Like there's certain franchises they're just guilty pleasures to me, and like Madden, for example, I buy Madden every year. I know it's the same game every year, but I still buy it anyway just because I just love it. So.
He really is the Taylor Swift meme because like every single fucking time we talk about like Madden or Call of Duty or Pokemon, Seb's like, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. And I'm like, exactly. Yeah, we all agree.
Except for Call of Duty, I definitely do not buy Call of Duty every year. But like in fact, when Call of Duty comes on a showcase, that's my bathroom break, where I go get a sandwich or something because they go on for too long. All right, let's move on now to some Nintendo Switch 2 news. So I'm going off VGC, Video Games Chronicle. They're talking the Switch 2 got delayed to 2025. So it sounded like it was coming out probably in the fall of this year, but it got delayed. So what people are saying seems to be March 2025, so a year from now. and they say it has a larger screen than the original. The rumor is that it's not. Well, pretty much what people said, it's not OLED. It is not. What is it? I'm forgetting the damn. Why am I forgetting what it's called? LCD. There you go. LCD.
City, yeah.
It's LCD like the Portal is, and the Portal screen looks nice. Like because LCD is so much better than now than it was in 2017. So it's much better. So I'm not too caught up in that, but I really would have preferred if it was OLED. So, Rory, what did you think of the delay? Like, did you expect the delay, or did you expect it to come out this year?
I didn't expect a delay. I kind of thought a winter 2024 date made the most sense, especially for holidays. Nintendo loves doing that shit. Obviously, all companies love doing that shit because it's Christmas and that's when you buy stuff and the season of giving, aka the season of giving money to multinational corporations. But I digress. Yeah, I didn't expect this. I'm a little surprised, honestly. If it's early 2025, I guess you could do late holiday gifts or something, but I don't know. Get your beloved nice Valentine's gift.
I guess it doesn't matter because the Switch came out in the spring as well.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm just a little surprised, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, I forgot to mention also that the main reason why I got delayed is because they say they wanted to avoid potential hardware supply issues, as PS5 had that issue during COVID, and in the chip shortage and all that. So that's Nintendo's claim. I mean, are you excited for the Switch 2, or do you have like just a general interest? Like maybe it's like a big maybe right now.
Yeah, it's like a maybe for me. Like the interest levels in Nintendo have been wavering for a while. I mean, mostly at this point, I'm a PlayStation person and a PC person, and my Switch sometimes gets played for first party stuff. And every now and then, if I want an indie on the go, or basically, by on the go, I mean I can lay in bed and I can play it while Kim's reading or whatever, or maybe something's in the background. But other than that, I mean, it's like, I don't know. Nintendo's just not been doing it for me the last year or two. Not been terrible. I recognize that there are lots of games that come out that are first-party games that are really exciting for people. Obviously, Tears of the Kingdom being a huge one. But just for me, Nintendo doesn't have the luster it used to for me. But that's not to say it's not coming. They're not coming out with great games, or that they're just doing nothing. Just a lot of those games don't appeal to me or aren't worth the price of admission. So,
yeah, I want to say I'm very excited, but I'm definitely probably gonna buy it day one. I'm sure. Because I love their first party games. I always I love Mario and Zelda and Pokemon and things like that, and you can only get them on the Switch. So that's one of the. I guess that's the advantage of an exclusive, is it's the only place to play them. So I have to get it on there. And I think Nintendo makes really clean, nice hardware. I think it's going to play very well. It's going to feel nice. Buy all the accessories and all that. It's going to be a whole thing. I love handhelds, so of course, I'm sure this is another handheld. They got me. So, my thing is, I'm just curious what they're going to launch with, because I have no idea. I'm guessing maybe I could maybe see a Mario Odyssey 2 kind of game, like a 3D Mario game, but we have absolutely no nothing. I mean, I'm sure the summer we'll see all the announcements and stuff, but we don't have anything. We don't know anything that's coming out. I'm hoping Metroid Prime 4 comes out next year. That'd be a great launch game. That'd be an insane launch game. That's day one. I think Zelda's gonna be on the shelf for a little while now. I can't see another Zelda game coming out. Maybe a Wind Waker remake. But but in terms of like a new mainline Zelda game, I think it's just too fresh. Obviously, Tears of the Kingdom came out last year, and Breath of the Wild came out in 2017, so that was a 6-year difference. So yeah, we'll speculate about the launch titles and games and all that in another topic. So I don't want to go off the rails, but big thing is it got delayed 2025, but can you really call it a delay when it was never officially announced? So. It was more of an internal delay. All right, so let's move on now to. So some major news came out this week. A lot of bad news, unfortunately. A lot more layoffs everywhere. pretty much everywhere. But before we get into all that, Toys for Bob has declared that they're going to be independent from Microsoft, but they're still going to be They still want to be partners with them, so that was interesting. Now, if you don't know, Toys for Bob is owned by Activision Blizzard, so when Microsoft purchased them, they were owned by Microsoft. But then Toys for Bob talked to Microsoft internally, like they had discussions, like we want to be independent. And I guess Microsoft was like, okay, no worries, and they agreed on it. Because I can't imagine they can just break off like that if you're owned.
Yeah.
So Dory, what did you think about this news?
Yeah, so this is exciting. Toys for Bob's are the people who came out with not only the Crash games, which I was whatever about, but more importantly, the Spyro games, which I loved. And I'm hoping this means we get an actual sequel to Spyro. This is why this is exciting news to me, basically. The only reason. I really want Toys for Bob's to make another Spyro game. I thought their Reignited trilogy was excellent. You could have some criticisms here and there, but I thought overall it was a really well done remaster/remake. I would just love an actual sequel to Spyro, like coming out from in the timeline after the third game. Maybe similar cast of characters or even a new cast of characters. After all their work on Crash and Spyro, I would trust in them to even do a completely new game for Spyro. But we'll see.
Yeah, my only thing is that Microsoft owns Crash and Spyro, so a lot of people are assuming that they're going to make a new Crash and Spyro game, but that would require Microsoft permission. So
right.
So I would imagine maybe they would make a new IP that would be a cartoony platformer, like their own character.
Well,
I don't know.
If they're linking up with Microsoft, then they would be able to get the rights, right?
Right. I mean, that's what they want to work with Microsoft. They want to secure a partnership, but it hasn't happened yet. But yeah, if they secure a partnership, then that's a possibility. I can see it on PlayStation and Switch too, because if they can put Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation, then I could see a Crash and Spyro game, because they have to know that the biggest audience for Crash and Spyro is on PlayStation, just because historically. But you never know, I suppose. Totally. Like, it was a huge shock. Obviously, Toys for Bob. Well, one of the concerns before Microsoft purchased Activision was that Activision was using everybody to make Call of Duty. They had Toys for Bob developers being forced to like work on Call of Duty.
Ridiculous.
So I can understand their frustration and get away from that. You can only, I know, and as much as people were excited about Activision getting purchased by Microsoft, like people were saying like, "Oh, Microsoft's gonna bring back all these old IPs that no one's ever hasn't played in a long time." No, I think Microsoft's is all about Call of Duty and the mobile department, like, because they gotta get their money back, right? You spend that much money, you're not making that money back from Spyro and Crash. I'm sorry, I'm not saying they don't sell, but they're not Call of Duty.
They're not Call of Duty. No, almost nobody is at this point.
Yeah, so Microsoft
maybe Fortnite. Yeah, anyway.
Exactly, Microsoft's not bringing back some obscure franchise right now. So, I mean, it's exciting. If it is a new Spyro, if it leads to a new Spyro Crash game, then yeah, it's very exciting news. I think we really need a nice 3D platformer in today's age, because it's a genre that needs to come back. I think it's nice to have some like nice, fun like platforming games. Like memorable adventure platforming games with that style, because not everything needs to be action packed RPG, 3D action shooter. You need some colorful mixture. Like I think that's what Sony's lacking right now. It's like Sony used to have a lot of platformers back in the day. We used to have Rayman and Croc and Tomba and Spyro, Crash. So we need to go back to that age. I would like a few games like that. Shoot, I would even take.
That'd be really fun.
There
was a game I think that came out last year that had like a fucking kangaroo or some shit. I don't remember exactly. Yeah. I remember. I remember hyping it up a little bit to you guys.
I got the platinum in that.
Cool.
Yeah, I got the platinum in that. It was really good.
Oh, did you? Was it any good?
Yeah, it was quite good. What was it called?
I don't remember.
Oh my god,
kangaroo game.
Yeah. Anyway, it was actually pretty good. It was I think it was a remake of the first game from the 90s.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't like the best game I ever played, but it was KO the
Sure.
KO the Kangaroo.
Yeah, KO the Kangaroo. Yeah, it looked fun. And then I got a bunch of like 7s and 6s, and I was like, I don't know. And I just forgot about it.
I think a lot of people did, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 2023 in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though, is like we're asking for these kind of games, but these games do not sell, and that's why a lot of companies don't make them, unfortunately.
We're the problem. It's us.
We're screaming into the void. I'm redeeming myself. So not every game I want is a AAA big budget game. Sometimes I want like a nice, smaller budget indie game. So yeah, Toys for Bob, independent. Cool news, surprising news. I like Toys for Bob.
And not the only company going independent. I don't know if you want to talk about that too, but
yeah, the only. Which one? You're talking about the Saber Interactive?
Saber Interactive also went independent.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, Embracer's selling. Actually, it's not so much they're going independent; they're getting sold to private investors.
Okay, right.
Because Embracer's selling off Embracer's having a lot of issues, and they're selling off all their developers and IPs. It's been a mess for Embracer. They just bought way too much, and it goes to show you that, especially as you can see with Microsoft as well, all the layoffs, is that you can't just buy up a bunch of developers and make it work. Like, it just doesn't work that way. That's one of the reasons why I think Sony's been so successful, even though they've had layoffs too, is that you gotta like develop your teams and synergy organically, because there's a lot of people, a lot of money, a lot of benefits, and you gotta figure all that out. What role does what, and
Right.
and then what happened with COVID and everything is all these companies overhired everybody. And now what the industry has changed since the last 4 years, people are going back. People are back to work. We're back to a regular economy. Obviously, there's high inflation and all that. It's a different era from what it was 4 years ago when everybody was home playing games. So a lot of these developers overhired, and unfortunately, they had to lose their job for these companies to start save more money. That's the whole point, I guess, is that they don't feel like it's worth paying all these people that they're trying to save money. Hopefully all those people land on their feet. But as we've talked about, obviously we hate that everybody's getting laid off. It's a very cutthroat industry. Like, especially you saw like Jim Ryan standing with London Studio a week before they got all.
No, it wasn't even. It was 4 days.
Was it 4 days? Yeah.
4 days before they got laid off, if I'm remembering correctly.
Dang.
Wild.
That's cold-blooded.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
go ahead.
I also want to add, like, this has been we've already gotten, I think it's 70% or 80% of the layoffs that we got last year already. Something like that, like an absolutely ridiculous number. I understand that certain companies don't feel like this isn't responding to you, Seb. I'm just speaking in general.
Yeah.
But I understand that obviously overhiring did happen, and some companies feel like they can't properly pay these people. But man, it is a real shame that there aren't some CEOs who are getting overpaid like millions and millions of dollars who can't just, I don't know, take a pay cut and bring that back down to the employees or down to the company. That way that, maybe some more people wouldn't have to get fired in this awful fucking economy we've got.
Yeah.
Wow. Would be great if they would do that. Like pull a fucking, I forget his name, but in Nintendo, he did it. Satori? I forget his name. But the guy in Nintendo, he passed away a few years ago.
You mean Iwata?
He took Iwata. Thank you. I don't know why it's not Satori. I don't know what I was thinking of. But
that might be his first name.
like Iwata. Yeah, it might be his first name.
Yeah, you're right.
But anyway, the whole thing's fucking.
Right. The Nintendo. I forget where I read this or heard this, but I think the Nintendo like CEOs and stuff make way less money than the American CEOs. Obviously, like
well,
they take
it helps that the yen is in fucking shambles at this point. I mean, wrestlers from this is another different topic, but wrestlers from Japan, even big stars, are going to America because the yen is just not worth what it used to be. So anyway,
yeah, and but at the same time, I'm with you 100%. Like the CEOs make way too much money. I'm just giving the general objective take, I guess, and not so much the. Like I feel really sorry for these people, and I hope they land on their feet.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say that I think the issue too is that a lot of these games are just way too over budget. Like these games are way too. The budget is just insanely high. Like we don't need these giant open world cinematic games everywhere. We don't need $500 million games. Like obviously, we like Sony's like when they make like Horizon or Last of Us or something. That's different. That's like a marquee game. But not every single studio needs to make some giant AAA big
Yep.
open world. And I blame the gamers for that too, because I think a lot of gamers tie worth and value to length. And if the game is like $60 and it's only like 8 hours to 10 hours, people are like, "It's not worth $60. I'm not buying that." And, you know what I mean? I do blame gamers for that too. For that, and I think a lot of these like these service games and everything, like all these games that are kicking off, are because people play them and buy them and stuff. So it's as much as I blame the CEOs, I do blame gamers, because a lot of people don't put basically. They talk a lot online, but they don't actually go through what they say. And also, majority of people that talk online are not only like 1% of the actual gaming industry, the gaming audience. Most game audience just doesn't say anything and just plays and buys whatever they want. So it's a combination of different things. Is what I'm saying. It's a very complicated issue. It's not just like one issue. It's not one reason why. It's like 20 different things going on at the same time. But the main thing is, CEOs make way too much money, and the budget of these studios has gone insanely high. Not every game needs to be $500 million to make. It's just insane.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm happy with more independent projects or smaller games or indie games. Like, not everything needs to be huge.
I agree.
Baldur's Gate was my #1 game of the year, but you know what was #2? Spider-Man. That was only 20 hours. Like, that wasn't a massive game. Even though it was open world, even though it did have the trimmings of those kind of games, you could easily beat Spider-Man in like 15 to 20 hours. Like, that is not a gigantic investment, right? That's still a decent amount of investment, but you could beat Spider-Man in like a week easily, maybe 2 weeks.
Right.
So I don't know. So I love both those games.
Yeah, there's a lot of great indie games every year. Like indies are fantastic every year, and a lot of gamers just don't play them. They overlook them because it's like, oh, it's an indie game. I'm only interested in these big games. And it's like, you can't complain about the industry, the state of the industry, if that's what you're only supporting. You have to, like, I'm not saying you have to play indie games, but like you really should find games that interest you and support the developers. Because if you want a better gaming economy where like there's a nice balance of indies and AA and AAA, you need to support all the games, not just like Spider-Man and Last of Us and
right.
Big EA game,
yeah,
big Ubisoft
game. A lot of the
Activision
games on my list, especially my honorable mentions, a lot of my honorable mentions were indies. Yeah. And there was even a couple of indies, I think, towards the top in my top 10 last year.
So I blame the CEOs. I blame the budget of these the board members, basically, like approving this, and I blame gamers as well that have like, they always want big AAA games and do not properly support indie developers and AA and all that. So these big corporations are following the trends, right? Like the big money, they follow the money. So if the money says, "Oh, games as a service," or microtransactions, loot boxes, they follow those trends because people are supporting that, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
So I blame it. The blame, you can put the blame all around, is what I'm saying. But as I said, hopefully those people land on their feet. But the other news as well is why Embracer is selling Saber for up to $500 million. They're still working on Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, which got revealed at a State of Play or a PlayStation event years ago, and it's been through absolute turmoil. And then there was like some news that like it basically got indefinitely canceled or something, like indefinitely paused or something like that. But I guess they're still working on it. Obviously, I'm super excited for it. KOTOR is the greatest Star Wars game ever made. I have a giant Revan statue on my desk next to me, so I am a giant Star Wars fan. Revan, yeah, I am. Revan's my favorite Star Wars character, and he deserves more love. I would love to see Revan like actually be on like an actual Disney like property, like in animated form. Like, I don't know, even if it's like CGI. I think there was a scene in the Clone Wars from Filoni where a deleted scene where they actually had Revan's like armor and stuff. Like they were gonna make him canon and they took it out.
Yeah, I think I do remember hearing about that.
Yeah, so I hope Disney does something with Revan. There's so much you can do. Like I think about Star Wars, like you could do so much in the future, but like you can do so much in the past, which that's what they're doing right now with the High Republic stuff. But
Yeah.
there's so much you can do with Star Wars, and I wish they would get away from like the Rebels Empire or repeating something like that again with the First Order Resistance over and over again. So that's another topic for another day. Are you excited for the KOTOR remake, or are you kind of like
Absolutely
over it?
yeah no I love KOTOR. I also love KOTOR 2, and I am super excited for them to do a remake. I mean, if it's even half the game that other RPG remakes like Final Fantasy VII have been, I mean, yeah, we're in for a fucking good time because I love KOTOR a lot. I would say probably the worst part, and I put worst in quotation marks here, big quotation marks, the combat got very stifled, and it's an early BioWare game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But it's still got a lot of that BioWare, trademark BioWare excellence, you know, the writing, the characters, a lot of the voice work. You know, graphics are here or there, but obviously a remake would fix that. And I presume the combat would get re-upped too. So maybe they would just go full action or they would go full turn-based. I don't remember if Saber ever said anything about that. But either way, Jason Schreier said that it's still in development and they're still working on it. No guarantee that it's actually going to come out. But hey, they're working on it and it is alive. So they're kind of like Luke in the back to tank right now.
Exactly.
Or Goku on Namek.
If I remember correctly, they said the gameplay is totally different. Like they're modernizing it. I don't know if, like what that means. Is it gonna play like is it gonna play like the Jedi Fallen Order games, or is it gonna be or just an RPG, same style as the original game, but just obviously better? Because that was the worst part of the original game. It just is old. It's dated. It's from 2003, of course.
Yes,
but I don't know if people said, I don't know if that was a criticism back then, because I was only 10 years old when it came out, so I don't know what people were saying about it.
I have no idea. I sincerely doubt it, because even now it's playable and it doesn't feel awful. It just feels a little clunky, and you know, there are definitely some difficulty spikes in 1 and 2 that feel very unfair. I think that's the only other criticism I can even amount to either of them. Yeah, I doubt people really had criticisms about it. Because even now, like I said, it's okay. It's fine.
All right. So let's move on to a lot of big Sony news. Unfortunately, mostly negative, as we talked about in pieces. But now let's talk about it in total. So there was a lot of layoffs, unfortunately, on Sony's end. It doesn't not a big surprise because the CEO last week talked about like how they didn't change their business. He wasn't happy with the money. So I think they lost like $10 billion because they didn't hit their target. That's what we talked about that last week, but they didn't hit their target sales and they lost $10 billion. So and they're new. You know how it is. New management comes in. I don't like what we're doing right now. Let's change everything. And so they made a lot of changes, made a lot of layoffs, unfortunately. Starting with firing pretty much, what was it, 900 employees? And
900.
multiple studios.
Awful,
yes. And so the first thing that got cut off, this was all reported by Jason Schreier first, so everybody's basing it off Jason Schreier. The Twisted Metal game that was being worked on by Firesprite got canceled. Now the rumors for a while was that it was like on its way, like it was very close to coming out. So we thought like maybe we would see it this year. That was the rumor, but apparently it was never close to being developed. It was in the pre-production stage. So the rumors about it being close to finish was untrue. And Dory, were you even excited about this Twisted Metal game, or you're kind of like about it?
I didn't really care. I honestly, when this is funny, when I saw headlines that Twisted Metal was canceled, my first reaction was, "Oh no, the Peacock series! They were gonna cancel it, but season 2 looks so promising." Like it wasn't even. And then I remembered, and I was like, "Oh yeah, they were making a game," and like I was like, "That's because that's so fucking weird." Like the fact that Twisted Metal right now is more well known globally as a cartoon series, TV show, excuse me, than the video game it was based on. And now the video game has been canceled, so we don't even know if we'll ever get I mean, I presume eventually we will. But like, I bet they were going to tie it in with season two coming out, that they could do some inter promotion stuff like that. But that ain't fucking happening now.
Yeah, because so also on the news, same, but the studio Fire Sprite, which is they're best known for making VR games, especially the Horizon Call of the Mountain game. Apparently, there's been a toxic workplace culture there.
Does not surprise me.
Yes, and that was a big issue for them. And so you combine that with all the employees getting laid off, people are very concerned about PlayStation VR 2, because biggest criticism a year after PSVR 2's come out is that where's the first party support? And Sony's not supporting it, and Fire Sprite losing all these employees is another bad sign for the VR 2. Is like, people are wondering if are they abandoning VR 2 in terms of first party support. And the train keeps going on because there's more news for Sony, unfortunately. Well, actually, hold on. No, that was the news. All right. So the big thing is, I think Herman Host is basically saying they're changing their business. They're going in a different direction. They're evaluating their studios. I think this all ties together with what we saw basically when Jim Ryan stepped down. Is a change in direction from the service games. I think they were making way too many games as a service games. At the time, they were making like 10 to 14 or something like that to service games. And it was just, I feel like they were forcing every developer in that direction. And now I think they realized we went too far in that direction, and they had to step back, and that's leading to all the layoffs. Because I imagine a lot of the developers that were hiring were like service developers, like Bungie kind of people. And they realized like we would rather have a single player, more of a portfolio.
But you know what's fucked up is Insomniac also had layoffs, and guess what? Insomniac doesn't really dabble in those kind of things. Has had incredible success with all of its games, and had to even Deck 9, the people who made Life is Strange: True Colors, they had to lay off some people too. It's just fucking wild. Like, even these companies that are incredibly successful, not getting involved in the sinking ship that is live service, even they are losing employees, and it's awful. I mean, Insomniac is one of the best developers in the world. B, have some of the best selling games in the industry right now. And just see, are generally a good company with good workplace culture, and even they are engaging in layoffs. Like, it's just like the industry is just fucking terrible for the people who are making games, which honestly, maybe hot take, is more important than the games being made themselves. Like, let go ever. But like, man, the amount that's happening right now, especially to studios that have been kicking ass, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me, and it's really frustrating, and it's just sobering to see, like, on Twitter, just person after person after person on my feed. Hey, I got laid off. Hey, I got laid off. Hey, I'm distraught. Hey, I'm upset. I'm shocked. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bills. How am I gonna support my children? Like, and definitely some companies are nice enough, gracious enough, I guess, to give people, severance pay and stuff like that, and give them a bit of insurance. Even some companies are good about this stuff and make the best they can with a bad situation. There are definitely companies out there. Wouldn't be surprised if Insomniac is one of them. But I mean, other companies, I love Deck 9 and love what they did with True Colors. But I mean, there was some stuff online about an employee having to go back and forth with them on some of their terms of leaving and what they get paid or wouldn't get paid, and just the whole thing. Like, it's just an awful time, and it really frustrates me as somebody who strongly believes in, like, workers' rights and unions especially, which I feel like would be very important for a lot of these people right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I couldn't personally work in the corporate world. It's just too ruthless. I don't think people become billionaires by being nice. I think you have to be cutthroat. Unfortunately, and I couldn't do that personally. I just couldn't. I couldn't have a job where I have to, like, be worried I'm gonna lose my job at any moment because of the economy or because the developer didn't make enough money. It's just as fun as gaming development sounds, it just sounds like long hours, a lot of computer, sitting in front of a computer, stress. I can't even imagine having that kind of job. Like one of the things I love about being a teacher is that I would have to literally strangle a kid and throw him through the glass window for me to get fired. I have such strong protection.
You'd have to literally like HBK Marty Jannetty right through
Yes.
like the fucking it's
Yeah.
and that stuff unfortunately does happen, but yeah, I mean it's just like it's so easy to let these people go. Like the lowest
ridiculous
in the industry, for the higher ups. I mean, not like for me personally, but the lowest I've ever considered going in, not the lowest, but like in terms of like climbing up the ranks and like open positions, like is QA, quality assurance, testing, stuff like that. But I've even looked at that, and there's like really nothing out there. And even when there is, it looks like you don't get paid a lot for long hours for doing really monotonous work. It's like, yeah, it's video games and I love video games, but it's like, I'd rather just not get paid and talk about it on a podcast than go through whatever the hell they want me to do over there. So yeah, I'm with you. I'd rather be a teacher.
Yeah, I'd rather work in game journalism than I would actual game development. But yeah, as a teacher,
if you do that, your gameplay skills go down instantly by at least 10%. So that's a risk you'll have to take.
10%, more like 90%.
I was trying to be nice.
No, as a teacher is like, yeah, the pay is not great. Florida's bottom 10, but I got a pension, health insurance, dental insurance, protections, things like that. So you gotta weigh that sometimes too. But yeah, but I imagine a lot of people's dream job is to be a game developer, get to make a video game, and you get treated like crap, and because of CEOs and their over the top budgets. It's really sad to see the industry is like that. But it is very normal to see layoffs like in the beginning of every year. It's just how it goes, new cycle. But it's never. But this is a lot. This is beyond normal because they overhired during COVID, as we talked about, and a lot of these developers have to. A lot of these studios have to adjust, but these are people. These are not just numbers, and we have to keep that in mind. So, yeah, it's really sad to see. One last news for the PlayStation was that they closed down London studio, who now I looked at their games and I have zero interest in the studio. Like obviously, like they've made almost nothing. Like I think the two biggest games I ever played from them was The Getaway on the PS2. And Blood and Truth on the VR1. But other than that, they've played pretty much nothing I'm interested in. But I do feel bad that people lost their job and closed down a studio. But my question is, what is Media Molecule doing that's keeping them alive? Like they must have naked pictures of Jim Ryan or something. Because I don't know, I don't know how they're still going. Like Dreams was such a, I guess because they're cheap and it doesn't cost them a lot to keep it going. They want like the creativity, but I don't know.
You have to be really careful because if we save the title of that game 3 times, I do believe that makes James appear.
Obviously, like the box just pops up.
The box, that'd be so fucking funny.
Like he has control of my like OBS and it just pops up. Like Beetlejuice.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. But no, I mean I'm totally with you. We were talking about this in the Draft Punk server, and I had no idea what London Studios made. And I mean, I honestly, my first impression, I see that an entire studio has been closed down, and my first reaction isn't like, not that this was yours, by the way, I'm not saying that. Yeah. But like my first reaction was like, holy shit, that's a lot of people they just laid off, not like what video games have they made? So when Brian was like, looking at like their list of games, they look like they've made Jack and they look like they've made shit. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. He was a lot nicer than that. Yeah, but basically what you just said, they've made a lot of nothing. So like, I'm not surprised if they got shut down. I'm not saying that means they deserved it or it should have happened or anything like that. Yeah. But when you look at the resume, it's like I think I know about The Getaway. I think I've heard of that game. Yeah, but the other game that you mentioned that you played, I don't even know.
Yeah, Blood and Truth is a really good game. They were making this fantasy game in London. Only thing we got from it was like a picture. It looked interesting, but it was a service game. So I think it all connects again to Sony getting away from this live service games, and they were like, we don't like this direction. And London Studio making games as a service game, and it was an easy. It was an easy company to cut. Easy developer to cut.
So really sucks for them. But I mean, I from a straight cold-blooded business decision, I guess this is a decision
Yeah, this
that
one makes
although
sense.
is the,
It makes sense to me.
this one at least makes sense. Like this one at least, like cutting people from Insomniac makes no fucking sense to me, and I have infinite rage about that.
Yeah.
But like the London studios, who honestly I'd never even heard of before, yeah, at least that makes some kind of cold-blooded business sense.
Yeah, absolutely. My first instinct wasn't the games. It was more like my first instinct was like, oh, that sucks because it keeps happening. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
But my thing is too as well is the layoffs. Like, who's getting like what kind of layoffs are there? Are they cutting like PR people? Are they cutting testers? I don't know who. Like, they never say, of course. So I'm always curious. I'm always curious with layoffs, like who's getting cut. But yeah, again, fortunate news. We all feel for them. Hopefully, they'll land on their feet.
Absolutely.
But it's just like one of those things where like this is pretty normal in the game industry. It's just never this much. Like this is a high amount. But yeah, I do hope though Sony. I think what's going on with Sony overall too is that I think they kind of regret relying so much on the AAA big budget games because like they take so long to make now. Like take 5 to 6 years, and you have like years where you have almost nothing. You have to rely on second and third party games. So I think it's very. I think Sony might be realizing that we should try to focus on more AA games and maybe smaller games, so we can have more of a well-rounded portfolio and go back to like the PS3, PS4 days. But maybe I'm just assuming that. I'm not saying they're going to give up on big AAA games because obviously Spider-Man, God of War, and all them sell like a lot of copies. But I think Sony might be realizing, hey, we rather make smaller single-player games to fill in, like maybe a Sifu kind of game, maybe like, or, you know what I mean? Like they didn't make that game.
I think that
Stray
relates back to the news of them not coming out with any big games for a while. I think that's part of that strategy is like, we're going to invest more in a lower amount of games and come out with like Sifu like games every now and then. I mean, I thought Sifu was good or it wasn't like super for me, but I thought it was good. And I thought it was a fun experiment for, what PlayStation Studios could be making.
Yeah. Also a Plus game this month, by the way. Really good game. Really hard game. So I hope that's the case. I feel like this is all connected in that way. I feel like it's all tied together. That they're not happy with the direction they were going in. They were happy with the service games, and I feel like they just bit the bullet, cut their losses. Unfortunately for all the people, and they're adjusting all their businesses. So I'm curious. I would love to be a fly on the wall in the meetings to see what's going on. I would love to see how they're managing.
You just hear Jim Ryan say like, all right, how do we get rid of Media Molecule without them leaking those pictures? How do we do it, everybody? Thoughts, ideas?
Yeah, like I have nothing against Media Molecule, but like
no, I don't either.
They've just done like almost nothing, and Dreams was bad. Yeah. Not bad, but it just kind of like it kind of just faded away. It was like it came out. Sony never marketed it.
Yeah, they didn't really market it. Like that was the big
of all the games not to put on PC. They didn't put Dreams on there, which you would think like PC players would have a field day with that kind of game. So whatever. All right, so let's move on to the final topic of the night, which
our Final Fantasy, perhaps.
Yeah, our Final Fantasy. So as we had a rebirth with our own podcast, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out on Thursday, on a leap day. So, Dory has played double the hours as I have. I played 12 hours on a full-time work schedule, and then on the weekend. Obviously, I'll probably double that by tomorrow night. I've done a lot though. I've pretty much hit on every side activity that I've encountered at this point. But before we get into all that stuff, let's talk about like the story. So let's organize this a bit by like categories. So let's start with the storyline. I'm on chapter 4, but I'm like right at the end. I'm right about to go to chapter 5. I am on chapter 7. Yeah, I just finished the Junon section, like right at the end. Junon section right at the end. So I'm imagining I should be. I'm wrapping it up pretty soon. Where are you at right now? Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, I just got to a certain mountain. I don't know if I want to say the name because I don't know if it's spoiler or anything, but I got to a certain mountain, and I'm currently going up it to follow. Basically, the main story is you're following the guys in hoods. Like the whole game is, if what I'm gathering is like they are the
There are what is that plot? It's a trope. It's a plot device. I can't remember what it's called, but they're basically like the linchpin of the game. That's not the word I was looking for, but I'll go with it. And they hook everything together. And they basically like MacGuffin. They're the MacGuffin of the game. And they're hurting. And I don't have a problem with that, by the way. You need something to give them motivation to be going across all these lands. I mean, they can't just be like frolicking in flowers, even though I'm sure Aerith would be really happy about that. So that's the main story beat right now, is we're following them to get to Sephiroth, to kill Sephiroth, so that the world can please not end. And also beach episode.
Right, exactly. They're following this. I don't know if I can say. I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but basically they're just the hooded people. Yeah, the hooded guys. They have nickel poisoning. They can't talk. They're kind of just zombies that wander.
They're like me after I wake up. Like,
they're all a connection. I can't talk about it without spoiling it, but there's a connection between our characters that we know and them, and you're gonna see later on the connection. So that's like the whole point of the story, because the whole point of the story is stopping Sephiroth. Because the one thing about like Shinra is, they're bad. They're the bad corporation. Like, they're basically the world government and stuff like that. But Rufus is not necessarily an evil character. He's more of like a neutral anti-hero, more like anti-villain. He's like a villain and a hero and a neutral person. Like, he helps Cloud and them, like, when he needs to, when it benefits Shinra.
He's definitely got some like lawful evil vibes, or maybe even neutral evil vibes. I think he's not a good guy, but he doesn't really care about anyone else as long as they don't get in his way. If the second you do get in his way, then obviously the gloves come off and his fucking cat dogs come out of nowhere and they try to fight you. Yeah, I swear every time I look at his pets, I'm like, cat dog.
First of all, it's really cool seeing Rufus in 4K, like have his character developed and everything.
Fucking
never really got to see that.
Kaiser Seto looking ass.
Yeah, he's very
he is fucking trench coat.
He is Seto Kaiba.
Seto Kaiba.
He is Seto Kaiba. What a dog. Like a panther dog thing. I don't know what it is.
Yes, panther dog. I don't know. I call it a cat dog just because it reminds me of the Nickelodeon show.
So yeah, Shinra is like, obviously Shinra is an antagonist. It's a big corporation that's draining the energy from the planet, but it's not the main enemy. Obviously, Sephiroth's the main enemy.
I mean, I think the way to look at it is that yes, Shinra is actively killing the planet, but Sephiroth is literally going to destroy the planet or like kill everybody on it. So it's like that's got to take precedence before we can tackle Shinra. I think this game absolutely rules politically, because I mean it is I agree with a lot of the politics in this game. I think, taken to their logical conclusion, a lot of what Barrett and Tifa are doing is just morally correct. Like, you have undeniable proof that Shinra is actually and literally killing the planet by relying on Mako, and Mako poisoning is killing people. And so it's like, I don't see anything wrong with what they're doing. Obviously, people shouldn't get hurt, blah, blah, blah. I'm not much of a violent person, but I do think from a political standpoint, Final Fantasy has always been a very interesting series. I mean, the last game that we all played, or at least most of us played, was all about freeing slaves. This one's all about destroying corporations and fighting really beautiful men with one wing.
And environmentalism.
Environmentalism, yes. I'm just very hype about just all the interweaving stuff that's going on in this game in terms of, I mean, Shinra is getting pushed a little to the side at this point. Seems like Sephiroth is becoming the main villain, which he should. The main villain at this point.
Yep.
I don't know how they do, like, I presume you fight him obviously don't tell me, but I presume you fight him at the end, but he can't die because we have Reunion. I'm also really mad at those hooded men because they keep saying Reunion. I'm like, guys, come on, we're on Rebirth. Reunion will be next. Like, no patience.
I would guess you fight Sephiroth at the end of the game, but like, I'm not going off because I know the original, because they changed. Because we fought Sephiroth at the end of the remake, the first one,
right?
And that didn't.
So happen. I don't know.
None
is
of
it
that
a bigger fight?
Yeah.
So that didn't happen, right?
That whole Midgar section where everything exploded and the big fire tornado never happened in the original game. Well, Didn't happen in that part of the game anyway. Like that was like another like that was all made up because like the beginning of the game. We can spoil the beginning of the game. This is like the first 10 minutes, so it's
right.
It's like they show Zach. Now that's very confusing for me because now if you don't want to hear this, spoiler warning exposed. So skip ahead.
Yeah.
But
maybe we'll just put a little spoiler warning before we even start.
Yeah.
Probably will be. We'll try to be as vague as possible.
I'll put it in
there will be like minor things here and there.
Yeah, minor things. But this is like the first 10 minutes.
Yes.
And this is people have known this. I imagine if you're watching this, you're a hardcore like Final Fantasy or at least a hardcore fan, and you probably seen that Zack dies like back like 20. Like this was like PSP days. So obviously, Crisis Core came out PSP.
Right.
And in Final Fantasy VII, the original, we know Zack dies as well. So seeing Zack in this timeline where he's like seeing like all our characters like basically dead on the verge of dying was very strange. Like the timeline.
Yeah, I don't know what that meant.
I was very confused by that because I have no idea what they're doing with that. I do know what Chapter 1 was because Chapter 1 was straight out of Final Fantasy VII, the original, like straight out of it. But I don't want to say the twist because I feel like I'm going to spoil it for you or the audience. But I mean, did you pick up on this? Like, did you? I don't know how to word it, but like, did you see like a twist at all there? Like, did you feel like something was off in Chapter 1? Like, a character was not really like doesn't feel like that themselves.
Well, Sephiroth has been hinting that one of the characters is not who they say they are. And we also, and that's not a spoiler, because we saw that in the trailer too, with Cloud saying, you know, this is what Genova would say, or something like that. I forget. So I don't know what that's all about, because again, I did not play the original. So I have no fucking clue what's going to happen there. I
don't know either.
I sure hope.
Because
they changed. So I don't know what's going on. The only divisive, critical thing that I've heard that might actually get to me, like in a major way, I have minor criticisms of the game, which we'll talk about, very minor nitpicks.
Yeah.
Is that the ending is just very convoluted and overly complicated, and just generally like not written as well, or maybe I don't know if it's a writing thing, but whatever. So that. I mean, that's already being at least somewhat reflected, because I was completely gobsmacked. I was like, wait, why is Aerith dead? Why are all these people dead? So I don't know what's good. And that's at the right at the beginning. I'm not spoiling anything.
Yeah, this is our initial, just to be clear, this is our initial impression. So like, there's only like, we're talking like the first 20 hours of the game. So
yeah, Grasslands, Junon, maybe. Yeah. So anyway, I'll move away from that stuff because I don't want to talk too much about it.
Sure.
I don't really know what's going on, and I'm interested to learn more. I just got past the mountain, and I've re-met up with a character we mentioned earlier. So not re-met up with them, but I've taken control of them again, like you do in the first 10 minutes. So I'm hoping that we figure out what the hell's going on with him and why is he here.
Yeah.
But
but Cloud doing squats was a giveaway, I think, anyway. But that's another. If you play Kingdom Hearts 2, you should have picked up on that.
Yeah, that's true. I did see him do that. You know, he did that in Fort Condor too.
Yep. So hint. Anyway, story wise, I think story wise after for Chapter 1, which was the flashback. I mean, this is straight. They're following the original game very accurately. Because right after you leave Midgar in the original game. They go to Calm and they go in the inn, and Cloud tells the story about how his Nibelheim got burned down by Sephiroth and how Sephiroth became evil. I thought they did a fantastic job portraying Sephiroth's downfall, because Sephiroth was a hero.
I thought that was great too.
Because people forget that Sephiroth was a hero and well respected, and people looked at him and was like Superman. And so this is like Superman becoming evil, because Sephiroth's so much better than everybody else, like so much stronger than everybody else. And he was made in a lab.
They've never done that in the comics, so it's not a completely overdone trope or anything like that. but Sephiroth, I thought this was great too. Yeah.
Right. So Sephiroth was made in a lab, so obviously he's stronger than everybody else. I mean, that's not a spoiler. That's in the first hour of the game. And he realizes that he's evil. Big shock, right? Because we all know he's evil. He's a bad guy, right?
Right.
And they did a great job. I've seen that scene so many times now where Nibelheim gets burned down. Like, they've done this in the anime format. They've done this on Crisis Core. They made an anime with Zach and Sephiroth and Cloud and all that. Like it's called Last Stop, I believe. I used to download it off LimeWire. True story. And we've seen that with the original game. Now we've seen it in this one. So
911, I've got him.
They did a great job with the fire and Sephiroth they showed Sephiroth massacring people. Like they didn't pull any punches.
The only thing I didn't like, and it's a super nitpick criticism thing. I think we talked about it too when we did demo impressions, or I did demo impressions.
Yeah,
I fucking hate the Cloud is just walking so fucking slowly.
Oh, I didn't like that either.
And it's like press R1 and L2 and I'm getting my directions mixed up, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I didn't like that.
You can't skip that. You can't skip that. It that boggles my mind because it's like I've already seen him kill all these people with his large pointy sword. Like I don't need him to do that again.
Yes.
So it was kind of
I didn't like that.
But it's not a big deal.
I didn't like that in the first game remake too, because they did that like when he walk when he gets all discombobulated, he like walks down a alleyway and you have to walk really slow and it's just like speed it up. It feels like they're doing the same thing as the first game, where it's like we gotta stretch.
There's a lot less of it.
Absolutely, but the first game, my biggest criticism of the first one was they had to stretch things out because obviously we got to turn a 3-hour section in the original game into a 30-hour game, and this game does have some of that. Like Chapter 3, when you're in the mine, I feel like was a chore. Like I feel like it just doesn't fit the rest of the game so far. You know what I mean? Like you had the open world, like you leave Calm, you go to the open world and all that, right? And then you get in this mine, and it feels like typical video game where like, oh, we need a bridge, so we need to go to the controls and break the bridge down, and that kind of dragged for me. It wasn't that long, so it wasn't a big deal, but it does. This game still has that padding where it's like it doesn't really need to. We're kind of just throwing that in there just to make it longer.
Yeah. I liked it just because it felt a little different. It was a nice break because I just finished. Basically, I just 100%ed or near 100% of the grasslands. I think I had to go back after Junon. So I did that quest first. So for me, it felt like a nice change of pace, but I totally understand. Like it felt like it took a little while, and I really just think it's an excuse for them, gameplay wise, for them to have you be split up from different party members. They're basically forcing you to try different party configurations. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Configurations. I was trying to be really fancy there.
I was doing that anyway, though. I feel like I was mixing my parties up pretty consistent.
So for me, I mean, like, I just pretend that Cloud is in the polycule unless some time warp shenanigans happen and Zach is suddenly available. Yeah. But so I always have Aerith and Tifa in there. But like, so I like that they forced me to use Barrett and Red 13 a little bit more because I hadn't really been using them. And that helped me realize that, like the Red's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
like,
but
he's really great.
Once I get Vincent, it's a wrap though. So
yeah, well, you ain't getting him in. Oh wait, do you already know that you're not getting him in this game?
Oh, you don't get him in this game?
I don't believe you do. Sorry.
Oh, well, next game anyway.
Next game, you do see him.
Yeah,
but
you don't get to play
sorry
as
to
him?
break it to you.
Oh. Well,
you don't get to play as him.
You get to play as
he's
Sid?
like in a Red 13. He's in a Red 13 role, I think. In the in the first game, he assists you, I think, but I don't think he. Yeah, I don't think he's not full fledged. I think until next game.
Oh, that'd be fun to be like the gun combat and all that. But hopefully you can play as Sid at least. I don't know though, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think that's true either.
Maybe he's just gonna maybe he's just gonna be like the pilot guy. He drives you. But I guess that's a spoiler. I don't know, but
yeah.
Sid, Sid's in every Final Fantasy game, but
they do, and they also say like when they're in Junon, it's like, oh, look at that, it's the Highwind, and Cloud while looking at the camera is like, wow, sure would be nice if we had that, huh? Hint. Sequel.
Sid pilot.
Yeah, Sid pilot. So yeah, we'll probably get Sid and
I hope you can play as Sid though, because my party in the original game was always Cloud, Sid, and Vincent. Like that's every time I play it's those three.
I don't like that there's only 3. I wish you could have 4, just because there's so many fucking people to choose from.
Yeah.
I know that you do get assistance from people, like other party members do show up on the field and lend you support.
Yeah.
Like I often hear the chugging of Barrett's machine gun in the distance or whatever. But
yeah. Like so far, like obviously use Cloud because he's the main person you have to use, but
right.
I use Aerith when like it's a big boss battle, like because she can heal.
Healing.
But I mainly use Cloud, Red 13, and Barrett. Like that's been my three.
Oh wow!
Because
it's a very different group than mine.
I guess we can use this to shift into gameplay. I think one of the problems I still have is the aerial combat. It's still harder to fight flying enemies, like the first game. I wish we had a jump button. For the love of God.
I don't.
Kingdom Hearts has it. Why can't we have it in this?
I was also gonna say, for the love of God, I don't understand why is there no jump button.
If Kingdom Hearts has it, why does it not? Why is it not in the
first game?
Yes.
Yeah, autistic meltdown in the first game because of this stupid fucking thing when you're climbing up the tower trying to save Jesse or whatever. It sucks so much. Now they have made it a little better. If you hold down the square button, I think like the strikes will hit the enemies in the air, and then the easiest way to do it is you dodge, and then you press square and square and square, and like this energy will come out of the. I think we talked about this in the demo, but energy will come out of Cloud Sword, and hit the enemies that are in the air. Also, there's a couple of synergy abilities and synergy
forget it.
skills that you can do that are also aerial. I do have a little bit of trouble with aerial, but luckily I've watched The Little Mermaid, so I can deal with her. No, but I mean, Aerith can do long range as well. Tifa, not so much. I have to kind of move around a bit. But yeah, you're right. There should just be a jump button. It doesn't, especially in a fucking open world game. It doesn't really make sense to not have you could at least somewhat justify it in a linear game like the first game was. But in this game, it's weird as hell that there is no jump button.
Plus,
so I don't know what we're doing.
Also, it can be a little confusing in the open world. Like, you can climb on some parts of the mountain, but in other parts you can't. It gets confusing. Why can I climb on this but not that? It's like, I end up wasting my time climbing up this thing where it's like, there's no point of climbing it up. And to get to
I've had a couple of those moments. I remember... one of the channels I follow on YouTube was like, quote, sometimes you are able to press circle to get up the mountain, and other times you just end up somersaulting like a jackass. So that's pretty much what ends up happening some of the time. And I think that's my biggest criticism of the gameplay, honestly, is the jank. I think that there is a little bit of clunkiness in the movement, a little bit. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's not anywhere near dampening my enjoyment of the game overall, which is incredible, by the way. I know we're really burying the lead here, but the game's fucking awesome. Like climbing up certain things, climbing down certain things, sometimes getting around environments, getting around the environment, sometimes like on certain scavenging missions, like it's just not completely clear where you're supposed to go. Like when I was hunting down some of the divisions for Midgar 7th, or like there's a quest for a returning character from the first game at Costa del Sol, and that was infuriating because there was no like markers anywhere on the map. You just kind of had to go by visual checkpoint. So I have like little tiny things every now and then. It feels actually better to be off of the chocobo instead of on the chocobo, because the chocobo can be too fast or a little. It's just a little
hard to
things
control.
here and there.
Yeah, it's hard to control.
Yeah, it's hard to control at times. And the chocobo sometimes goes from 0 to 60 in like 0.5 seconds. You're like, whoa, wait a second. Like, give me a second to like recalibrate.
Yeah. Also, sometimes I feel like the chocobo, like when he walks up the mountains, like it just goes so slow. It's like you speed up a little bit. Also, one of my big criticism is the map. I think the map is not that great. It can be hard to understand.
I almost always have to use custom markers instead of the markers they give you, because orange just sticks out a lot better, and it just works a lot better for me.
Yeah.
I almost never use the default stuff.
Yes, and I think that because like the map would be like it's right here, but like it's below you, but it doesn't tell you that, and you have to at this point I just assume that if I don't see it, it's probably below or it's probably below me, so I should go around and then I'm right. There's a cave under the town. Another problem I have with it so far is I don't feel like the intel stuff is that fun. Like, it's cool to like it takes you to some mini games, but like some of the intel stuff, like fight this enemy, like fight this like group of enemies and for complete 3 objectives, or find this relic, or any of those things like that, right? Like take a snapshot. they're not that interesting. Like after a while, it's like I was doing all of them at first, but now I'm starting to like it's starting to wear on me. Like, this is kind of boring. I'm not really getting anything out of this because I feel like the only thing you're getting out of this is you get some experience, but and some money, but you're getting mostly for the combat simulator thing.
Yeah.
I
I have to agree with you. That is another
Chadley.
one of my small criticisms. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you. I suspect in a similar way that the side quests in Final Fantasy 16 didn't bother me as much as they bothered you, but I agree that they are a little ho-hum. The going, to be more specific, I mean, go into the springs and just pressing triangle, triangle, triangle.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the most riveting of game. I even joked, Kim was like sitting right over there, and I was playing the game, and I was like, Kim, look at this fucking riveting gameplay. Triangle, triangle, triangle. Wow.
Yeah.
The same thing for the shrines where now the shrines are very useful, I will say, because you depower the given summon materia and you make it a lot easier to fight. Like when I had to fight Titan to get that summoning materia, even powering him down 3 times,
that part's
which
important.
was the max I could do.
Yeah.
That was a tough fight. Phoenix was easy by comparison. Titan was I would have switched them around, but whatever. I guess for the sake of lore, you can't. I fought both of them. I mean, Phoenix was kind of a joke compared to the Titan, but I agree. I mean, it's not. They're classic open world activities, I guess is how I'll call them, or is what I'll call them, and they're not bad. They're just kind of there. I feel like they do break up the pace of gameplay enough that I don't mind them, but they're not exactly taking my breath away, and it's just a good way for me actually to get my breath back from the main combat.
Yeah, I wish there was more rewards to them. As you mentioned, the summon ones are important, and it got better like when you did the Fort Condor like missions from those and stuff like that.
Oh, we're gonna talk about Fort Condor.
Yeah, and so I don't hate it. It's not as bad as 16's pacing, where it was like 16. I was like, oh my god, it's like MMO quest. This one's not like that. It's more just like I don't like some of it. It's starting to wear on me now. Like I put a lot. I was focusing on clearing the map, but now I'm kind of like, what am I really getting out of this? Like for most of it,
I think the main thing that you're supposed to get out of it, and obviously this might not be for you, is just to get the materia from Chadley. That's really what the world intel is for as a currency.
Yes.
And if Chadley doesn't have anything that you want, which could very well be the case, I'm not even buying.
It's been the case so
anything
far
from Chadley. Yeah, I've been super impressed with his materia either, which is weird because like you want to reward us with. It's not like they're not terrible, but it's just like I don't see anything worth getting. I think there was like Ice and Fire or something like that. It was like, what is this, a George R. R. Martin book? Anyway,
that's the new book.
That's the new book. Chadley's story of Ice and Fire. He's got to write it himself. Good. So
go ahead.
Yeah. So just one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what they're supposed to be for, but I'm not blown away by that. That said, I do get a sense of satisfaction when the map is cleared. I get the world intel completed.
You would love an Ubisoft game. You would love an Ubisoft game.
I know. You would think, right? But no. I do like the Assassin's Creed games though, and I am a bit of it bothers me when certain things are misty or certain things are uncompleted. So yeah, I am kind of the target audience, but I hate Ubisoft so much as a company that I refuse to denigrate myself and play those fucking games. Because even though I do love that, I don't love it when it's too much. Final Fantasy VII feels like it has just the right amount. Everything is just engaging enough, but not like completely time-consuming.
You're right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm wasting it's starting to wear on me, but it's not like it takes forever. I feel like I'm getting where I need to be pretty fast, and I have unlocked most of the pretty much all the Chocobo fast travel section.
Yes, which are very
rest
handy.
stops. So it's not like a huge deal, but yeah, it's just some of it's like I don't. It's starting like I feel like by halfway I'm gonna be done chasing some of that stuff.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I don't feel that way, but I totally understand that point of view. I have done a good part of Costa del Sol, which I'll talk about a little bit. I don't want to get into too much because you haven't even gotten there, but I'll say very vaguely like how I felt about it because it is kind of the weakest. I say weakest. I mean, even a weak part in this game is like what really great or whatever. So it's not bad.
Yeah.
Just a little mini game heavy. That's my main criticism of Costa del Sol. It's just a little mini game heavy. It's also partially on me. I picked You can pick which mini game you take to get to certain cutscenes and whatever. I'm trying to be vague, but basically I picked ones that are very involved, and I also try to get all the swimsuits and stuff. So it was partially on me, but some of the mini games were just infuriating, and I had to use guides. Same thing for scavenger hunts and stuff like that. But yeah, I do want to talk about Queen's Blood and Fort Condor when we get a chance.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the mini games soon. So we hit on the gameplay. So overall, I think the combat is a blast. I wish there was a jump button.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's been a blast. I feel like there's so much more moves you can use. I feel like it's just I feel like there's more options in the combat. I think just because you have the synergy now. The synergy plays really well. The synergy tied together with your relationship choices. There's certain dialogue choices you have to make that makes your relationship better, and certain mini games you have to do better on to make their relationships better. Like this game does have like Persona, it's like very specific dialogue choices that make a big difference, which is actually like in the original game as well, because you had to do certain things to obviously go on a date with Barrett or Aerith or Tifa in the original game. You had to pick specific choices and do specific things. So it's very much like the original. So the mini games in this game has a lot of mini games as the original did, and so all these mini games are based on the original games mini games, just better. First one I want to start with the rhythm game on Junon, which was in the original game, not like with the buttons prompts, but with you did have to like follow PS1 character models doing moves with their rifles, and it was challenging. I always thought I never really cared for it. I think this game does it much better. It was challenging. The first two, not that actually. Let me phrase that. The first one was really easy. The first section of that, and then like the second one got a little harder. And that was one I actually struggled with the second part more than the third one. The third one was like really fast, but I actually never failed that third one. And so that was like that was from the first game too, the Honeybee Inn dance off in the first one. And so I'm not surprising they did it again. Also, we got that frog mini game. The frog, it was like basically Fall Guys with frogs.
We have Fall Guys at home.
Yeah, and that was surprising. I like the side. I forgot to mention this, but the side missions so far have been really good. I've been very happy with the green ones, the green icons. Like there was one about the old man. Ones, yep. The old man wanted to see a condor, and you had to go hunt down like a monster and get the cow.
Oh, were you able to find how the fuck to get to that condor? Because I couldn't figure out where to find the society, where to find the condor. I just gave up on it.
Yeah, I did all that. I haven't missed a side mission yet. Yeah, it wasn't that bad actually. You had to like sniff it out with the chocobo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's easier than it sounds. Like you just go back there and sniff it, and you'll see the marker. There was one with the frog, as we mentioned. That was a cool little side story. There's one where you had to escort like an Italian Greyhound dog to like her son and his pregnant wife. That was okay mission, I guess. That's a side mission, typical.
It was an escort mission. I was dreading it at first. I thought that Salmon was not going to be able to take any hits. But when it flashed that he had like more HP than I did, I was like, damn, this dog's been lifting weights. Like, what the fuck? Like, why aren't I getting Salmon on my team? But yeah, he was fine. I think he took like 200 points of HP. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that was a lot easier than I thought it'd be. Because escort missions in video games are notorious for being, BS to say the least.
Yeah, and then there was one with you had to like find parts for this guy, and like this it was a chocobo farm guy, something like that.
Yeah, Gabe.
Gabe, yeah, but that was kind of typical open world side mission. I got basically the missions got better when you got the Junon, but yeah. So the mini games were they've been fun so far. It's been a nice variety. Fort Condor I've had a blast with. I actually would like to play a mobile game. If it was just Fort Condor, that'd be kind of fun. I've actually really fun because Fort Condor in the original game was always such a chore to me. I never cared for it. I think if I remember correctly, they force you to do it. and I always kind of like lose on purpose so we can just get it over with because it doesn't matter if you lose. Well, but this one is like I really enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me of that Gears game that came out on the mobile Gears of War game where you just like place soldiers on the map and you like and the bar moves up and down. It's like so the more soldiers you have on your side, you get more. You can summon more people on their side. And I had a blast with that. It sounded like you had more of a challenge, especially in the last one than I did. I didn't really have a challenge with that. But.
I've always struggled with the side games that Final Fantasy insists that you get into. I didn't get into Fort Condor in the first game. I didn't, or the DLC or whatever it was, and then I didn't get into whatever game it was in Final Fantasy 16. I think there was another side game that they wanted me to really invest my time in, and I didn't. But I'm actually happy to say that this has been the game to kind of change my mind on it a little bit, at least with Queen's Blood. At first, I was pretty negative about Queen's Blood. I didn't really understand how it worked, and wasn't really sure if I was enjoying it. But I'll talk about Fort Condor first. So Fort Condor isn't in most of the game. It's mostly, as far as I can tell, sequestered to one side quest for a proto relic in Junon. And the first 3 missions are fine. Like once you figure out the rock paper scissors, once you figure out like the recommended, I recommend entrench. That entrench always worked for me. But your mileage may vary. I did Cloud and I did was it Barrett? I think it was Cloud and Barrett, or no, it was Cloud. It was Cloud and Tifa. But anyway, I messed around with the heroes, and basically, like I pretty much flew through those first 3 once I had that method. 4th one kicked my fucking ass. My biggest problem, I think, with Fort Condor is, and maybe this is partially on me for forgetting that they don't matter to the victory conditions, but I always thought those like eagles really mattered and that you had to get rid of them. I mean, it doesn't really matter because your characters kind of autonomously go wherever you want after you summon them, so you don't really have control over it anyway, and they always default to going over there. But it pissed me off that if you have like both of their birds gone and all your birds are up and the main guy isn't dead, you lose anyway. Like even though like clearly you're winning and you're about to win, they're like, nope, time's up, like you lose. My other problem with Fort Condor, you can't adjust the difficulty. So if it's too tough for you, there's nothing you can do. You just have to kind of suck it up and look up a guide, which is what I did. Thank you, GameSpot. I appreciate you. Because the 4th fight absolutely kicked my ass. I tried every single different configuration, and I kept losing over and over again. I knew about the rock, paper, scissors at that point. I knew what I was doing, generally. I was trying the entrenched strategy. I, used Cloud and Tifa. So eventually I like literally looked up, like, because they're not random. They are pretty much set, like what they're going to do every time. So I followed a GameSpot guide on YouTube that move for move I pretty much copied until like maybe towards the end, the last minute or so, I got improvisational because at that point I'd won. And I just feel like 3 minutes also wasn't enough for the last fight. It was really hard. The guy in the center can freeze your guys, and he can. I make it sound like this is a big fucking deal. It's like one part of an optional side mission. It just really pissed me off because it took me 10 tries. It took Seb 2 times, by the way. So I just was very unhappy. I had one time. This is what pissed me off. This is what made me send you this message, Seb. I had one. He had like this much health left. Like this is where everybody hopefully has a video medium. Like nothing. And I think he did the time stop ability, or they were resetting their animation. I had 10 seconds left, and they just didn't attack him for a whole 10 seconds.
Yeah, it happened to me the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so pissed. I was like yelling. I was like, "Are you kidding?" Like I had him, and the game's like, "Nope, time's up." So yeah, I don't know. I like the first 3. The 4th one can burn in hell. I do like Queen's Blood though. I think Queen's Blood is fun. It did take I don't want to say exactly, but basically once you get on the Costa del Sol ship, you'll see what I mean, Seb. It's integrated very nicely, even for people who have been avoiding it like the plague, like I have. Not really like the plague. But I just kept losing, and I didn't understand why. And I did look at the tutorial. I did pay attention, but I didn't quite get how it worked. And there's basically a tournament that gets set up, and it helps you learn the ins and outs of it. But yeah, sorry if I'm going on and on about it.
You're fine. I didn't skip any of it. played everybody in the card game. I've beaten like 7 people. I understand it now. I like card games, obviously. I've quite enjoyed it. One thing is, it's the people I'm playing against very unbalanced because they have their cards are just so much better than mine. So it's like I had to do a lot of retries. Like one person took me like half an hour to beat. But once I got the hang of it, I realized that if you, as long as you limit their number of places to put cards, you pretty much trap them into.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the best strategy that's worked for me. Is like
Basically what you do. I had to look this up because I'm no good at this. is a King of the Hill strategy. You have to go to a hardware store and buy some petrol gas. No, sorry, I was trying to make a King of the Hill joke, and I've never watched King of the Hill, so damn it, Bobby. No, but what you have to do is you have to take over that middle row. If you take over that middle row, you through the course of taking over that row, you probably take over the other two, or at least enough of the other two.
Yeah,
the opponent will never get back.
Yeah, but this
Shiva is also a really good card, or at least supposedly. I tried using Shiva a couple times. What she does is basically she fills up a lot of empty spots with 2, 4, or 6.
She fills all of them.
Yeah, she fills all the empty spaces, but only the ones that have your green tokens, not empty ones and not red ones. So it's not as broken as it sounds, but it can be helpful if you're like in a pinch, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, she won me 2 matches in a clutch.
Oh, nice. So
Yeah.
there you go. So I don't know. Maybe I just don't know how to use her or something because she hasn't helped me. But I've only used her like twice or 3 times. But yeah, make sure you go into vendors too, because vendors have some cards that other people won't have. I don't know if you've done that, but that'll help you even the odds. That's what helped me when I got to basically the tournament on the Costa del Sol ship, or the ship that takes you to Costa del Sol. There's an invitational tournament. Has one of the funniest, the best cutscenes of all time. I'm very excited for anybody who does not get spoiled on seeing it. I was unfortunately spoiled on it just because I was looking at guides and I couldn't beat this particular character. But yeah, super funny. This game, I should mention, I'm sure we both agree on this. This game is unashamedly goofy. It does not care. This game there is no shame in this game, and I think that's great. I love how goofy and stupid this game is. It is not afraid to be dumb and silly and like just like over the top, like Shark left a while ago in terms of jumping.
Yeah.
It's really great. I love it. I love its sense of humor. I love these characters. They're incredibly well written. I'm so glad that we get to hang out with them again. I'm sure they'll all make it fine to the next game.
Yeah, like first game is obviously goofy as well. Like the whole beach the town is one of my favorite parts of Final Fantasy VII. Like seeing like Hojo at the beach, the scientist guy at the beach, just like laying on a lounge chair. I don't know if they kept that. I haven't got there yet, but I assume they're gonna keep that. And seeing like Blair wearing a sailor outfit and Red 13 wearing a sailor outfit. I don't know if they kept that in there on the ship. Although the ship gets I don't know. Well, I don't. It's a spoiler. I'm not gonna say it. Anyway, but yeah, there's a lot of goofy moments in the original game, so it doesn't surprise me. Final Fantasy's always been a mix between very dramatic and very goofy. That's what I love about it. I think we hit on everything, like mini game wise so far. That's all. We hit on all the gameplay already. So I guess we can talk about the graphics now and the performance. I think one of the problems with this game is the graphics. Not a big problem for me personally, but does have its issues. A lot of pop-ins, a lot of character models look off. The end, you can tell this engine is struggling, fighting for its life. In this game, there's a lot of pop-ins. When you're at a distance from character models, look bad. It's like 16. 16 have the same issues. The frame rate can be inconsistent. It hasn't affected my gameplay in any way. In fact, I played this game on the Portal too, and I've had fun with that. But it doesn't look great. And that's my biggest criticism of this game. As so far, 12 hours in, is that there's several graphic issues. I've played much better performing open world games, but the gameplay and everything else is so good. It hasn't really affected my gameplay, but it is something. It is quite noticeable. It is not the prettiest open world game I've ever played. It's not the prettiest game I've ever played. But it's serviceable. That's the best way I can describe it. If you're a big graphics person, you're probably gonna be like, "Oh, I don't like this." But if you're like me, where it's like performance is more important and graphics are not everything, I think it's fine. I think it's serviceable, but it's definitely an issue.
Yeah,
that I've noticed.
It doesn't bother me, I guess, as much as it bothers Seb. But I've definitely noticed the pop-ins that did bother me. I put it on performance mode, and maybe it's just been my brain turning off that part of itself. But I haven't noticed as many pop-ins since I did that, which I did towards the start of the game.
I'm using performance mode too because I don't play games in 30 frames if I can if I can help it.
Sure. I don't. None of that really matters to me. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Seb. I've seen nicer looking games, but I also think this game has a lot of beautiful scenery to it, at least from afar. I think even up close, it doesn't look too bad to me. I think character models can look a little off in their animations every now and then, but for the most part, I think they look fine and they do a decent job. But it's certainly not, it's not Last of Us or anything.
I think
like
this game needs a patch. I think that's what it is. I think they can clean it up. Like I feel like in like a few months, like people that play that game in a few months are gonna get a better version of it. So I guess that's just part of being a day one buyer with it. That's not saying it's an excuse, but that's probably what's gonna happen. Because I remember 16 had a lot of issues with motion blur and everything, and then they patched it and fixed it up. So I imagine it'll be similar in this case, but we'll see. The PC version's apparently coming out in May, or at least they can start working on it in May. So I'm sure this game's gonna look great on the PC. But as of right now, that's my biggest criticism of it. What else? I think we hit on. What else have we hit on? Oh, the music. Music's fantastic. It might be my favorite soundtrack of the year. I guess I'm cheating. 16 was my favorite soundtrack last year, and this year 7. But Final Fantasy VII soundtrack is my favorite soundtrack of all time in a video game. It's
incredible.
It's
I mean, it kind of goes without saying because it's so good. But yeah, I mean, every little musical sting, every little musical reference, the backing, the background music, the foreground music, like there's just a lot to love here in terms of music. I mean, I've been thinking about some of those tracks, day to day, before we get on the podcast, I was thinking about them.
Now we can talk about.
So it's just,
go ahead.
It's an incredible soundtrack. The music is incredible. The gameplay is incredible. I think I don't know. I'm not as critical on the graphics. I think for me, it's not as big of a deal. I'm not even for Seb that it's a huge deal. I think for me, it's even less of a big deal.
I think it's serviceable. That's how I would describe it. Like it's solid. It's okay. Like it doesn't break my experience, but it's just it's noticeable to me.
Okay, fair. Yeah, for me, it's good or great. I haven't really noticed anything to even take me out of the moment for the most part.
Yeah,
but that could just be differing expectations or seeing different things. I'm definitely not always the biggest noticer of that kind of stuff, so that could just be me.
I do think.
But I think the game's gorgeous for the most part.
I think the environment is
sometimes when you when you go up close and stuff like that, sometimes it can look a little rough. Like looking close at rocks and stuff like that.
I think the environment looks great in terms of like when you're in a town, like in the distance and stuff. It has like that Uncharted moments where like, oh, that looks amazing in the background or something like that. Like the first time, when you leave Calm and you see the airships in the air, that was a great shot. Or like, there's a lot of things like that. There's some great moments. It just needs polish, is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that's where, I feel like a patch will polish it. I think it would be better for people like in a few months. I'm sure they'll clean some of it up. But yeah, back to the music. The music, I mean, I recognize every song for the most part. Obviously, it's like they're all classic remastered versions of them.
Oh man, one of my favorite tracks is when you're on Chocobo and you're doing a treasure hunt. The very guitar, yeah, it's like or something like that.
That's Kirby. Okay.
Well, I thought maybe it was like more Mario, but No,
that's
but
like,
yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
that sounds really good to me. When you're on the Chocobo and you're in like an excavation site.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a million remixes
and
of the
it's
Chocobo theme. Yeah.
yes, it's very good.
Yeah, I love hearing the main theme of Final Fantasy VII when you're just in an open world setting. It's so iconic. I love the battle theme. No, there's some cool news themes though. We got like there was when we got to escort the dog. It was like a techno like bow wow. It kept saying bow wow. And it was kind of fun. It was like a fun
That was
song.
fun.
And then there was like another one. I think there was some side mission where you meet like I forget her name. It's like it's not Kyrie, but it's like Kiri or whatever.
Yeah, Kiri or something like that.
Because they didn't want to call her. They want another Kyrie. And she had like a really awesome like she had a really awesome electronic song like, and it was like only in that section. And I was like, oh, this is really I'm really digging this. I don't know if it's out of place, but it was like only there, and I kind of wanted to hear it again in another spot. So there's some cool like electronic songs thrown in here too, but it's largely orchestral. So it's amazing. I can't wait to hear the Gold Saucer theme and Cosmo Canyon again. I'm really excited to see the Cosmo Canyon in this game. That's coming up, I'm sure, in this game, somewhere in maybe chapter 7 or 8. All right, so we hit on gameplay, story, music. I think that's pretty much graphics. What else is there? I think that's it.
I mean, if you were expecting a big revolution in the voice acting, I've got bad news for you. It's pretty much all the same people. I thought they did a tremendous job in the first game. I think they're doing a tremendous job here.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with the voice acting. I think voice acting is pretty much spot on. I mean, obviously, I'm more used to like the old voice acting. Like I still prefer Cloud's old voice actor, and I prefer Sephiroth's old voice actor because the old voice actor of Sephiroth is the voice of Superman in the '90s animated show. But not a big deal to me. I think it's just because I'm so used to Advent Children and Kingdom Hearts 2, where they had the original Cloud and Sephiroth voice and all that. So, but that's not a big deal. What is
Cloud doing?
Plus Zack's voice.
I don't know.
I prefer Zack's voice in the original. Like all the, but like obviously we didn't get to hear Aerith talk that much, only in Crisis Core. Right. So most of my Final Fantasy VII experience is text based. So.
I think Yuffie is a fucking delight. I know there are going to be some people who find her really grating, but I think they do a really good like her voice actress is so committed to the bit, committed to her role of an over enthusiastic killer ninja that I think it works for me personally. Yeah, but I can definitely and also I mean just having Cloud as her straight man, where she is just listing off her resume and he's like, "That's cool," and it just moves on like. It's so fucking good. Yeah, she's spot on, like from the original, spot on. And also, I haven't met Kate Sith yet, but I imagine Kate giving Kate Sith the Scottish accent and all that is cool too. So, so I think we hit on everything for now. I think we went longer than expected. I think, but we're gonna keep talking about Final Fantasy VII each week, but not in this length. Like we obviously hit on more than we're not gonna talk about gameplay and graphics and all that again. Unless something radically changes.
Yeah, we'll just hit on like non-spoiler story beats and like any other new mini games that we encounter or something like that. So, all right, so that is everything. So next week, I can't say I'm gonna be playing anything new. It's hard to say because my time's gonna be focused on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So more than likely, next week is just gonna be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth again, but like just not in as much detail. And we'll just talk about any news that comes out this week because there's always gonna be news now. So thanks for joining me, Dory, and peace.
Who's the best? Who's me? I am. I don't know. Whatever that the guy from bowling said. Also, podcast done.